Good evening, friends. Welcome to my discussion on change to the next normal. By now, all are aware of several COVID 19 lexicon of new words, and the Merriam Webster is replete with them, most of them finding an entry at an unprecedented speed. The next normal being the one most browsed and spoken of. Every other person having a semblance of future analyst intersperses his talk with the word as though it's a new mantra. The corner grocer serves through a barricaded storefront wearing a glove, says, Abhi ye normal rahega. So let us look at the background. COVID 19 pandemic has gripped the planet Earth. At this point, more than 210 countries have been impacted. Over 4.8 million people have been afflicted, and about 3,17,000 people have died. These numbers have been rapidly climbing over the last few weeks from the time it has manifested. What started in Wuhan, China in late December 2019 has spread in an unprecedented manner and taken many countries by surprise. To contain the spread, which is squarely based on human to human transmission through the droplets of cough sneeze, the governments of several countries have mandated a social distancing. Stay 6 feet apart. Stay home. Stay safe and avoid crowding. Furthermore, to contain the spread through community transmission, the governments have declared a complete lockdown on all businesses, excluding the essential services. Everybody is inevitably and unequivocally ordered to stay indoors within the four walls of their homes. All offices, education institutions, restaurants, pubs, bars, shops, malls, movie halls, public parks, swimming pools, gymnasiums, etc. are closed. All public events, religious congregations, weddings, and sporting events have been cancelled to ensure that every possibility of crowd gathering and community spread is avoided. A statewide curfew has been enforced by many countries. Essential goods and services are alone allowed. All public transport is stopped, barring a few to transport essential goods and people rendering essential services. In the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, impetrated lockdown, employees are either working from home or hibernating in the confines of their houses. Factories other than those producing essential goods are closed. So the entire economic activity has come to a grinding halt and the stock markets have crashed. Even today, 1000 plus, it has crashed. The market is shell shocked by the turn of events, and everything seems to have happened and fallen apart. Major industry sectors such as travel and tourism, airlines, hospitality, automobiles, reality, retail, infrastructure are all completely devastated. The service sector could even be more worse. Big sporting events are cancelled or postponed. Wimbledon 2020, big event. IPL, Olympics. The operation of business mainly comprises of marketplace where people, products, processes interact between all the elements of the microenvironment. The social distancing could possibly stay much beyond the lockdown, both because of the untamable enemy, coronavirus, still lingering in the atmosphere and the resultant acquired consumer behavior. So let's look what is a consumer behavior. Now here I have taken Kotler to Kotak as examples. Kotler said deprivation and anxiety will usher new consumer behavior, attitudes, and behavior. Citizens will re examine A. What they consume, B. How much they consume, C. Influences of class issues and inequality. Consuming became a lifestyle and culture. Producers did everything to stimulate demand and more consumption, such as economist Thorsten was particularly critical about the wealthy consumers flaunting their wealth. He wrote conspicuous consumption, a malady that took people away from meditative lifestyles. The theory of leisure, another book which Veblen wrote, exposed the sickness of status display. He would have surely turned in his grave hearing about the luxury cars owned by Virat Kohli or late actress Jayalalitha's wardrobes and cupboards. There were already signs of anti-consuming movement. Now the COVID would further strengthen their anti-consumerist resolve. Philip Kotler talks about 5 types of anti-consumerists. 1. Life simplers. What I call in my term minimalists. Eat less, buy less, downsize their possessions, many of which were unused or unnecessary. Some might not even have opened their boxes. Some might also decide not to own a car or a house, prefer to hire or rent one. 2. Degrowth activists. Now, degrowth activists call for conservation and reducing material needs. They see the greedy producers are doing their best to create false and unsustainable needs. The third category, Kotler says, are the climate activists. They say consumers causing risks to our planet through generating more carbon footprint by use of, all the kind of luxury goods, high-end cars, jets fleeting between one end of the world to the another. The fourth type are food choosers. The growing community of vegetarians and vegans campaign against beef. Each animal emits methane that warms the planet and consumes 15,000 to 20,000 liters of water per kilogram of beef. The fifth is the conservation activist, green and blue revolution advocates. They protect forests through stewardships, want use of recyclables, and are against plant obsolescence. They are hostile to luxury goods industry. Many are environmentalists and anti-globalists. Kotler says, social marketing aims to stimulate the target audience, us as citizens of this country, to accept the new behavior, modify the current behavior, or abandon the old behavior. So, key to successful rebound strategy is application of sound management principles and processes. Now, we shall examine through the current interaction between the market and consumer as to how the buying behaviors have changed, and our review will include first, competitive forces. How the social distancing is going to further reduce the rivalry and encourages commoditization. Brands might get blurred. They will not be there at all. Threats of substitutes will be higher. New entrants will be many. Bargaining power of the online buyers are increased. But potential trans-border trade restrictions triggered by the COVID-19 could limit their choices. Now, bargaining power of the suppliers will be further reduced due to commoditization and the changed market dynamics. The next parameter is value networks, replacing the value chain. The internet value chain already provided deep insights in market research. The role of value chain integrators is a lot more profound. Take the case of affiliate marketers, take the case of third party logistics, take the case of destination deliveries, warehousing, all are now becomes integrators. They work together. The transactional e-commerce sites are easily understanding the buyer behavior and articulate the online shopping preferences and sequences. The O2O, my term, online to offline and vice versa. Dynamics can change due to social distancing. Look at those Nike stores. They wouldn't want anybody to buy at their store. The stores are only meant for creating visibility. They always wanted the people who come to the store to buy online and tell them, look, we don't carry inventory. You go and buy online and you get 30% discount. So the O2O dynamics can change the social risk. New channel structures. The classical distribution model of having a distributor, wholesaler, then the stockist and retailer, and the tenets of managing the time, place and possession utility. That is the purpose of distribution. Managing time, place and possession utility is already changed with the e-tailing bandwagon becoming bigger. Now, with the social distancing, there will be further de-intermediation and re-intermediation. So, new kind of intermediaries and channels will come. It will become local and hyper-local, like Jio has tied up with WhatsApp to do it. Location of trading. The traditional marketplace had physical location, and internet-driven markets have no physical market. The virtual marketplace will be further augmented by door-to-door, like the good old Encyclopedia Britannica door-to-door salesman. So the next would be online coupled by society building sales promotions. So location independent. Commercial arrangements for transactions is going to drastically change. Touching currency and plastic will be a taboo, fearing coronavirus infection. Contactless payments through mobile internet and e-wallets will become more prevalent. New businesses and revenue models. Just as Timbers in 1999 identified 11 digital businesses and revenue models, the current situation warrants few more, particularly for mass consumption, without compromising on the social distancing. So newer ones are definitely going to come. To summarize, examine the COVID behavior of your clients. Resigned to helplessness, दूर से नमस्ते, चाय पे चर्चा दूर से सही, बिजनेस हग और हडल कभी नहीं, मॉर्निंग मीटिंग्स वर्चुअल ओनली on Zoom or on Cisco WebEx or on WhatsApp, contactless transactions. Nobody wants to give a check or give cash or give a card. So now let us look at the new environments, which are in marketing parlance the pestle or the SLEF factors. that is political, economic, environmental, legal, technology. Let's look at that. All institutions operate within a given environment that influences the way in which to transact a business. Companies that monitor, understand, and respond to the changes in the environment have better opportunities to compete efficiently and grow their business. The increasing popularity of online business, and now coupled with the newfound concept of social distancing due to the rampaging COVID-19, the consumer behavior within the environment will drastically change. The microenvironment is also called the operating environment, which all future businesses will have to focus for survival. The social distancing has further brought a new term, velvet environment, into the context. Now, those that need to be served with kid gloves, with extreme caution. Paradoxically, the senior citizens who are the most vulnerable lot, they are coming under the vulnerable environment. The internet, electronic communication, and the contactless transactions have major implication for the marketplace. The international, national, regional, local, hyperlocal players have distinctive spaces in the emerging macro environment. The macro environment is also called the remote environment, which will be greatly impacted by the social distancing. The governments have launched never seen before public health and economic responses to fight COVID-19 to ensure that there is no widespread transmission. All resources have been targeted to combat the coronavirus. Nobody knows how long the lockdown will continue, and this will certainly suck many countries into severe economic crisis. Almost all countries will find their coffers empty or debts shooting up post the COVID-19 contingent expenditure. The fiscal deficits will be of mammoth proportions. Some countries will have to bring back long forgotten austerity measures to rein in the economy, while others will have to extend their begging bowls. Newer levies, taxes, restrictions will be imposed to not only bring back the financial health but also to protect the local economy. The political climate is going to be hostile, as the governments will be inclined to forget all niceties and adopt aggressive containment measures to limit the spread of the virus. This may have large-scale resentment from the opposing political parties and interest groups. The ruthless containment strategy, mixes of lockdown, curfew, mass screening, identification of potential clusters, and their isolation will certainly distress people. And they can easily be swayed by anti-establishment indoctrinations by certain interest groups. So these types of political bickerings will destabilize some governments, and their administrations will be stressed. There will be several unpleasant decisions that impact the trade and employment during such times. Some governments who have a federal versus state division in terms of rule and administration find it even more difficult to respond to situation unequivocally. As we have seen, further right a government, the more inclined it is to delay action and offload blame elsewhere. The delays in some countries have resulted in making the infections and death rates steeper. COVID-19 outbreak shows how lives are lost or saved depending on government's propensity to acknowledge risk, act rapidly to contain it, and share the consequences. President Donald Trump has declared a national emergency and invoked the Defense Production Act to accelerate the virus responses. Emergency coronavirus legislation passed in the United Kingdom. Epidemic Diseases Act, medical emergencies, contagious disease prevention, and international health regulations. War emergencies etc. enacted in many countries. A few states in India have invoked the National Security Act. Now, these legal frameworks pose certain restrictions on the market as well as the consumer. The aftermath of the Second World War gave birth to the United Nations to unify nations and bring peace within their member countries. The UN has a role of upholding the human rights principles as the foundation of freedom, justice, peace in its world. And this unique kind of war situation will impact the humankind, human lives. Their livelihood is going to be compromised. A global war on coronavirus, which is an invisible enemy, highlights the role of UN and other international institutions in promoting peace. The COVID-19 is clearly seen as a global health crisis and perhaps may have emerged due to negligence or deliberate attempt to destabilize the world. The WHO has a role of providing public health on emergency health issues to reduce the loss of life and burden of disease and disability. Whereas the WTO is concerned with the regulation of international trade between nations, and during a global pandemic of such magnitude, many countries may face shortage of medical equipment, personal protection equipment and medicines, including healthcare professionals. So they have to step in. So unconditional trade between nations must be mandated. So these three international bodies must combine to create a legal framework that saves mankind from the deadly coronavirus. The benefits of core competency of each country may be exploited to save people from deaths. Unhindered trade of life-saving equipment and drugs should be mandated. Now, the instrument of international justice can therefore potentially be used in assigning individual responsibility for failing to address these core conditions, leading both to offending and the spread of virus. If the virus is merely a test run for other and perhaps even more devastating nature-driven disasters that may ensue as a result of the extensive damage done to the planet, then we need to have a quick and effective global response mechanism. This will be the underpinning factor for global disaster management and risk mitigation. The UN Security Council is yet to respond to the pandemic, perhaps due to the fear that China might veto anything that might hinder their grand plan is looming large in the minds other UN Security Council members. This will certainly be an acid test for the future direction of United Nations Security Council. UN Security Council has to take some decision very fast. The government has many steps to take. So let's look at now what our own Kotak had to say. Now Kotak said, obviously Kotak Mahindra Bank, coronavirus lockdown is like Abhimanyu's Chakravyuha. Getting into lockdown was easier, but getting out is a more complicated process. Now the government is going to allow the relaxation of the lockdown in a phased manner. We are going to have a to go through a series of steps to ensure that we are complying with the government guidelines, but at the same time ensuring that our people are safe and are able to be active as well. Because at the end of the day, we have to run our business. A detailed planning activity where we need to identify which employees really need to come to work even after the lockdown is lifted. Others can continue to work from home. That clarity is important. Companies should ensure transportation for their workers. At the offices, there should be a series of checkpoints where testing can be done. There should be holding areas for colleagues to ensure that a red flag can be raised if someone is feeling unwell. A doctor on call may be also mandated. A COVID rescue team be alerted, local authorities. We must ensure there is no crowding in our office spaces. Ensure that only 25 or 50% of the workspace is occupied. A similar set of actions need to be done with our support staff, including security guards, receptionists, peons, etc. We must ask if we really need all of them to come into work in the beginning or come in a staggered manner. These must be well thought out efforts to ensure that while we open our offices, we take every step possible to minimize the impact. We need to sanitize our offices and keep sanitization station at convenient spots. Better ask staff to remove their footwear and use office slippers. Follow the concept of clean room, such as found in dust control manufacturing units. Even have their personal bags and tiffin kept in a separate sanitized room with disinfecting UV lights. Perhaps some workspaces, surface or some office spaces or surfaces can be secured with antimicrobial coatings or coverings. All internal doors to be fitted with sensors for contactless opening and closing. Biometric attendance or entry should be blocked or upgraded to contactless entry using RFID or mobile QR code. Health and legal experts predict that on-the-job medical screening such as temperature checks and antibody tests will be a reality for those who return to work from lockdown. Even when we open, not everyone will be allowed into the office at the same time. You have to create rosters where teams come at a certain time during the day, complete their work and leave. So all of these will have to be taken into consideration and planned out so that we are able to manage this change. Every employer also should ensure that their employees download and use Arogya Setu app. Let me tell you, such as one uses Google Maps for navigation, soon you will have to use the Arogya Setu to navigate through and avoid COVID-19 infected areas, maintain social distancing and enter shopping areas. So unless the safe to pass sign from your mobile device appears on the security guard's device, he may not allow you to pass. There are several newspaper articles explaining how it should be used for safe passage of people on public transport. To ensure that your employees can travel unimpededly for work, you can read my article on Arogya Setu on LinkedIn and Facebook post. Insist all must have the Arogya Setu app installed on there. To conclude, new normal is here to stay. Adaptation is extremely important. Rigid structures won't be able to flexibly readdress your work. Start small with the tiniest action that will propel you to progress towards the goal. Loosen your cognitive load. Like earlier, you cannot call someone and give instructions as thoughts appear in your mind. Plan your interactions well in advance. Spend a few minutes every night writing out clear goals for the next day. The list making practice lessens your cognitive load. Learn how to push yourself beyond your comfort zone. Lastly, keep your desk uncluttered to reduce distractions. Stay calm, stay safe and blessed. Thank you, friends.